Formula One is a sport that feels engineered for privilege. Its pathways usually begin in wealthy suburbs, elite karting academies, and countries where motorsport is woven into the national identity. It is a world of early access, expensive equipment, and powerful networks. David Coulthard's story begins in none of those places. He grew up in Twineholm, a quiet Scottish village with barely a few hundred residents, where ambition was measured in long days and hard work, not trophies lifted under global spotlights. His family ran a haulage business, and from a young age Coulthard worked alongside his father. Trucks, schedules, responsibility, and routine defined his childhood far more than glamour ever did. Racing was not presented to him as a dream. It was a risk. There was no illusion that motorsport would be easy, and no safety net waiting if it failed. Money mattered, time mattered, effort mattered. From the very beginning, his career was built on discipline rather than entitlement. That mindset would define everything that followed. While many young drivers romanticized racing, Coulthard treated it like a profession long before it became one. Even as a teenager competing in karting and junior formulas, he developed habits that separated him from his peers. After every race, he would evaluate himself with brutal honesty. He scored his own performance, broke down mistakes, examined mental lapses, and analyzed technical execution. Where others blamed luck or machinery, Coulthard looked inward. This obsessive self-analysis did not make him flashy. It made him reliable, and in Formula One, reliability often matters more than raw brilliance. The Senna seat. Coulthard's ascent through the racing ladder was steady rather than spectacular. He impressed in British Formula 3, earned respect for his technical understanding, and gradually became known as a driver who could communicate clearly with engineers. That reputation earned him a test driver role with Williams in 1993, one of the most powerful teams in the sport. His job was not to shine, it was to serve. He logged endless laps, refined setups, and provided data that helped champions like Alain Prost and Damon Hill extract performance. It was unglamorous work, but Coulthard embraced it. He understood that being valuable mattered more than being visible. Then Formula One changed forever. In 1994, Ayrton Senna was killed at Imola. The sport froze in shock. Williams lost not just its lead driver but the emotional center of the paddock. In the aftermath, the team needed someone capable of stepping into the most psychologically demanding seat in motorsport history. They chose David Coulthard, not because he was the fastest available option, but because he was mentally resilient. Replacing a legend while the entire sport was grieving created pressure few drivers could withstand. Every lap carried weight far beyond racing. Every mistake was magnified. Coulthard was not expected to win. He was expected to survive. And he did. He learned. He absorbed the environment. He endured scrutiny without collapsing under it. In a year defined by loss and instability, Coulthard quietly proved that he belonged. By 1995, he secured his first Grand Prix victory in Portugal. It was not dramatic or chaotic. It was controlled, calm, and earned. A fitting reflection of the driver himself, the nearly man at McLaren. Coulthard's move to McLaren in 1996 placed him at the heart of Formula One's most competitive era. Under Ron Dennis and alongside Mika Häkkinen, McLaren rebuilt itself into a championship force. The team was precise, demanding, and unforgiving. Häkkinen became the champion. Coulthard became the constant. He won races. He delivered podiums. He helped develop cars. He supported title campaigns. And in 2001, he finished second in the World Championship behind Michael Schumacher, the highest point of his career in terms of standings. But history would brand him unfairly. Coulthard became known as the nearly man, the driver who came close but never crossed the final line, the one who was always competitive but never crowned. What that narrative ignored was context. He raced during Schumacher's Ferrari dynasty, one of the most dominant periods the sport has ever seen. Many drivers were broken by that era. Coulthard was not. He adapted. He learned how elite organizations function under pressure. He learned how excellence does not always guarantee victory. He learned how to operate in an environment where margins are razor thin and outcomes are often out of your control. Those lessons would become more valuable than any championship.
Building Red Bull before it ruled Formula One. By 2005, Coulthard faced a defining decision. His time fighting for titles was ending. Retirement was a logical option. So was fading quietly into the background. Instead, he chose the harder road. He joined Red Bull Racing. At the time, Red Bull was loud, ambitious, and largely unproven. It had energy, funding, and vision, but lacked structure and credibility. Coulthard was hired not just for his speed, but for his professionalism. He became the team's anchor. He set standards. He guided engineers. He helped shape a culture rooted in discipline rather than hype. While younger drivers chased headlines, Coulthard focused on foundations. In 2006, he delivered Red Bull's first ever podium at the Monaco Grand Prix. It was not a championship moment, but it was transformational. It validated the project and proved that Red Bull belonged on the grid. Years later, Red Bull would dominate Formula One. Coulthard would not be the one lifting trophies, but without him, the dynasty may never have existed. Retirement without collapse. When Coulthard retired from driving in 2008, he avoided the trap that ends many athletic careers. He did not cling to the past. He transitioned forward. He became a broadcaster, earning respect not through theatrics but insight. Calm, articulate and analytical, he brought clarity to Formula One coverage for the BBC and later Channel 4. He explained complexity without arrogance. He critiqued without bitterness. But broadcasting was only the visible layer of a deeper strategy. Alongside Jake Humphrey, Coulthard co-founded Whisper Films. What began as a production venture evolved into one of Europe's most successful independent sports media companies. Whisper secured major broadcasting rights, expanded into documentaries, rugby and international sports content, and reshaped how motorsport stories were told. Coulthard was not a passive partner. He applied the same discipline that once governed his racing career: preparation, execution, and long-term thinking. The $100 million empire. Coulthard invested early and intelligently. One of his most notable successes was the Columbus Hotel in Monaco, which he sold for a substantial profit. He aligned his brand carefully, serving as an ambassador and consultant for organizations such as Mercedes-Benz and Red Bull. He avoided excess. He avoided spectacle. He avoided the traps that ruin many former athletes. Today, his net worth is estimated to exceed $100 million. It was not built on a single lucky deal or brief moment of fame, but on decades of consistency and sound judgment. In interviews, Coulthard often speaks about decision-making under pressure. Racing trained him to act quickly with incomplete information. Business rewarded the same skill. Speed was never his greatest weapon. Judgment was. The legacy that endures. Measured by championships alone, David Coulthard may never stand beside Schumacher or Senna. Measured by longevity, intelligence, and post-career dominance, he belongs among Formula One's most successful figures. He turned discipline into wealth. He turned pressure into clarity. He turned a racing career into an empire. And the story continues. A new generation carrying the Coulthard name is emerging, reminding fans that ambition, when paired with structure, does not fade with time. From a small Scottish village to the global stage, David Coulthard proved that winning is not always about crossing the line first. Sometimes it's about staying in the race long after everyone else has stopped. At Apex Media, we decode the real stories behind motorsport legends, not just who won, but who endured. Subscribe for more untold journeys, hidden strategies, and the truth behind racing greatness. Coulthard mastered the art of relevance, remaining valuable even when the spotlight shifted. He learned how to listen as well as lead, a skill that extended his influence beyond the cockpit. In a paddock driven by ego, he cultivated perspective. That perspective became his competitive edge. Post-retirement, he transitioned seamlessly into commentary, business, and brand leadership. His voice carried authority because it was earned, not manufactured. Fans trusted him because he spoke from experience, not nostalgia. Teams respected him because he understood the machinery of success from the inside out. Coulthard's business ventures reflected the same discipline that defined his racing years. He invested with patience, not impulse. He built partnerships rather than chasing headlines. Each decision echoed the strategic mindset that once guided him through race traffic at 300 kilometers per hour. The modern Formula One ecosystem rewards those who can see beyond the next lap. Coulthard saw beyond entire seasons. He recognized that legacy is built horizontally as much as vertically. Influence, once established, compounds quietly. As the sport globalized, he positioned himself as a bridge between eras. Old-school discipline met modern branding through his presence. He became proof that relevance does not expire with retirement. Instead, it evolves. Now the Coulthard name re-enters conversation with his son Dayton starting his motor racing career. The expectations are higher, the lessons deeper, the foundation stronger. History does not repeat itself, but it often echoes. This continuation is not about nostalgia or inherited fame. It is about structure passed down with intention. Ambition guided by wisdom lasts longer than talent alone. And discipline, once learned, becomes generational. David Coulthard's story reframes what success in Formula One truly means. Not just victory on Sunday, but relevance on Monday. Not just trophies, but leverage. Not just speed, but sustainability. If you enjoyed this video, please click that like and subscribe button.